There's this photo from 1920, steel mill, somewhere in Pennsylvania. 12 men standing in front of a furnace, arms crossed, covered in soot. If you look close, really close, you'll notice something. Half of them are missing fingers. Not one guy, not two, half. And here's the thing that gets me. Nobody's trying to hide it. No one's ashamed. Hands are right there in the open, like this is just what hands look like when you work. We talk about the good old days of American labor, the pride, the grit, building the country with your bare hands. But we don't really talk about what that cost. Not in dollars, in actual pieces of you. Because there was a time, not that long ago, when losing a finger wasn't an accident worth reporting. It was Tuesday. It was the price you paid for a paycheck. It was, and I'm quoting here, part of the job. Let's go back to the early 1900s. If you worked in a factory, a mill, a mine, a rail yard, basically anything that paid, you were surrounded by machines that didn't care if you were tired, didn't have emergency stops, didn't have guards. Punch presses that could cycle 60 times a minute, table saws with no kickback protection, stamping machines that came down like a guillotine over and over every 8 seconds. You know what they called the guys working these machines? Nine-fingered Joe, lefty, stubby. Not behind their backs, to their faces, because everyone had a guy on their crew missing something. There's this phrase that kept showing up in old union records, the tax. That's what workers called it. The finger you'd eventually lose was the tax, the entry fee to the middle class. Think about that for a second. They had a word for it. In 1913, the Bureau of Labor Statistics tried to count workplace injuries for the first time, and what they found was staggering. In a single year, 25,000 workers were killed on the job. Not injured, killed. Another 700,000 were seriously hurt, meaning amputations, crushed limbs, burns that never healed right. That's in 1 year, in a country with a third the population we have now. If you worked in a steel mill, your odds of serious injury were about 1 in 7 every single year. Rail yard workers had it worse, coupling train cars by hand, standing between 2 tons of steel, hoping the engineer saw your signal. They lost so many fingers and hands, they had a nickname, car toad. Missing a few fingers meant you'd been doing it long enough to know what you were doing. Meat packing plants, logging camps, don't even get me started. But here's the wildest part. If you got hurt, that was your fault. There was no workers' comp back then, no OSHA, no safety regulations. If a machine took your hand, the company's lawyer would stand up in court and say one of 3 things. 1, you were negligent, you should have been more careful. 2, you knew the risks when you signed up. Or 3, and this one's my favorite, your coworker was negligent, so blame him, not us. They called these the unholy trinity of defenses, and they worked. I found a court case from 1909. Guy named Frank Kowalski lost 3 fingers in a stamping press in Chicago, sued the company. The judge ruled against him, said, quote, "The dangers of the machinery were open and obvious. A man of ordinary intelligence would have avoided the hazard." Frank was 16 years old, couldn't read English. It was his 2nd day. The company paid him nothing. He went back to work the next week, same factory, same machine. Because what else was he going to do? So what changed? Honestly, people got tired of it. Workers started organizing, striking, refusing to just accept it. There's this amazing moment in 1911 after the Triangle Shirtwaist Factory fire. 146 people dead, mostly women. 100,000 workers marched through New York City in the rain. Silent, no chanting, just walking. And the city stopped. That's when things started to shift. Slowly, state by state, laws started changing. Workers' compensation, safety standards, the idea that maybe, losing a limb shouldn't just be part of the job. By the 1970s, when OSHA was created,
workplace deaths had dropped by 60%, not because workers got smarter, because we decided their lives were worth protecting. I think about those guys in that photo a lot, standing there with their missing fingers, proud, defiant even, not because losing fingers was good, but because they survived it, because they kept showing up, because in a system designed to chew them up, they refused to disappear. We romanticize blue-collar work now, the craftsmanship, the authenticity, getting your hands dirty, and there is something to that, but let's not pretend it was ever noble to treat human beings like expendable parts, like the cost of building America was supposed to be measured in severed limbs and shallow graves. Those men deserved better. They knew it too. That's why they fought. Next time someone tells you about the dignity of the old days, the way things used to be, ask them how many fingers it cost. Because they don't put that in the photographs. But if you look close, you can still see it.